Welcome back to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast. Today on the episode, Albie Roebeck, a 20-year service for New Zealand Navy, been in the boxing game for almost as close as 20 years, has been as crazy as to do a charity event to box for 60 hours non-stop, as well as done multiple other events, helping out the youth and the community around us to make a difference around fitness and our mental health, as also was part of Harry Sanders that we've had on the episode before. They're doing the 100-kilometer run on Mirawaii. And Albie, I've seen you around on social media and through a lot of circles and friends that I have about the difference you're trying to make in the community, our youth, and everything else. And I thought I'd love to have you on the show, and welcome to the Wolf of Queen Street.
Thank you, man. Seriously, I really appreciate the opportunity. So,
it's awesome. It's awesome. Look here, let's, as I said in the beginning, let's have a start. So obviously, you're a bit of a Navy man, been there almost 2 decades at the moment, obviously in boxing as well. I'm a massive big boxing guy. I've gone in the ring myself. I watch it, I support it, and everything else. Was boxing brought out from the Navy, or was that two separate things?
No, I discovered boxing, the love of boxing when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I didn't fight and train until I was in the Navy. So, So,
you fight the boys, or do you fight legitimately, or do you guys fight in the back, right?
Yeah, bit of both. Eh?
Bit of both.
Yeah, you got to earn your keep.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So obviously at the moment, with everything you're doing, like I said, is you did the 60-hour charity event, but let's take a few steps back before we get into that. You know, what's driving you towards that? What was all the driving force around yourself to sort of make a difference for the charity and the community?
First and foremost was depression, my own experiences with depression. And then the Guinness World Record part was because my son is, at that point in time of his life, he was addicted to that, like Guinness World Records, the books, as growing up, you do so too. So I thought, like, how could I, use depression as a driving tool to motivate people, but also to see, the flip side of it, the positive side of depression. And also how can I motivate myself and enforce change, but also how do I pay, homage essentially to my son and, my children and give them something to aspire to. So that's how that was born. And boxing saved my life. And I thought, because you can go on the Guinness World Records and on the website and you can, search essentially what records there are, what you can submit, et cetera, et cetera. And I typed in boxing. The first one that came up was the Longest Punchbag Marathon. That was established by a Canadian man, then broken by someone in the Middle East. And I thought, okay, then how can, I'm pretty sure I can do this. That was at the start of 2019. And just to amplify things a little bit more, I thought, okay, well, why don't I do this on my birthday? Yeah. And I did it on Labour Weekend, October 2019. And the rest is history essentially. So, yeah.
Was that the stepping stone, off the back of that to going back, like you're big in the community, you're big with the youth, I know with your program, and I know with the discipline and allegiance top you're wearing at the moment about the youth and the rest of it. Was that the stepping stone towards that, or was that really part of who you were before 2019? Yeah,
so in 2016, I made a switch in careers in the Defence Force to a unit called the Youth Development Unit. And essentially that's built around helping at-risk youth to reintegrate them into employment. And that's how, where I am today. Like that was the stepping stone essentially that led me to where I needed to be or where I want to be at this present time.
What's driving that? Like where did you come from? What did you go through to, go in the Navy and make that decision? That it seems like, is there a backstory with your youth and growing up that, you've spoken about depression and so forth. Is there something more back there that is driving what you're trying to do today? Hey everyone, sorry for the interruption. Just a quick shout out from our sponsors.
My name is Kenyon Clark and I'm the founder of the Duval Group. We are a large-scale property developer, and alongside our property development business, we also have our gym business based in Manukau and with new locations opening soon. We're passionate about serving our community, and we do that through the Duval Foundation, and I hope that we are able to be a voice of encouragement and inspiration for a whole new generation of entrepreneurs.
Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, there's bits and pieces of it, like I didn't have like a tough upbringing, or I didn't have the best upbringing, I have both parents are from the islands, and you could, back then you discipline was a little bit different, so, and you got discipline in the right way. It taught me a lot of things, but at the same time, it kind of left a little bit of trauma there, so to speak. So then you carry that all the way through if you haven't healed from it, right? So going through intermediate, I didn't really have the best of friends, or didn't really have any friends, and that carried over to high school. And then in the Navy, it just flipped the script. I like it's a different environment, and the people that you make there, the friends there, the company that you do keep, it's massive and it's impactful in your life, and essentially they're there for the remainder of your life. So, yes, it was a part of my childhood, but then also it's a part of the leadership values that the Defence Force has installed in me. Trust is huge. Benevolence is another one. So showing these compassionate traits to other situations and trying to do something to better their day, essentially, and I've said this before, is like, if I can change one person's life, I've done my job. Yeah.
And definitely looks that way from everything that you're going out and, you're trying to achieve, from the charity events, running with Harry Sanders and so forth, because you were supporting him through that challenge you did, the Mirawaia 100, were you not? Or you were running with him as part of it. And I know that fell short there just with the weather and everything else.
Yeah. Well, I've known Harry. Harry used to come to my boot camps a long time ago when he was a little kid. Yeah. And I've mentored Harry, more so as a friend, through his adult life and to where he is now. And, and we've developed a close bond. So, some of the ideas and stuff that he's come up with, we've kind of tweaked to what it is now. And that 100 kilometers ended up being at Piha.
Oh, sorry, Piha.
Yeah, it was his idea. And I thought I'd, go there and support him through it. So it ended essentially being a combined event. He went further than I did, for multiple reasons. And yeah, it was good. I shouldn't have done it. I was sick as for.
Because you said you had chest, right?
Man, I had lung infection, everything. Yeah. And I thought, so many people told me I shouldn't do it, but just myself, if I didn't try, I wouldn't know. And I wanted to be there for the brother. So yeah.
Would you do it again?
We will do it again. We will do it again.
I had to ask that. Yeah. I know Harry's view on it.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure I asked you. Would you go and do the 100K challenge?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to steer him to Papamore. Much prettier beach.
Oh yeah. We can
longer, flatter.
If we go over to Papamore, we'll get old Rich Farrell that came on the show. Right. He just lives off the beach there. Yeah. Rich can pom dude. He's a New Zealand powerlifter, strongman.
Yeah.
And you can stand on the beach and do pom-poms for you guys, right? So, so a big thing is, obviously yourself in the boxing game and coach as well, right? I see all over there. Talk me through, the boxing, the outlet for kids and the youth. Talk me through a lot of what I see yourself there and helping them. It looks like it's not just coaching, it's mentoring and it's life guidance and all the rest of it.
Yeah. So I took the forward step into coaching from competing through injuries and mainly because I enjoy that aspect of boxing more so than I did the fighting aspect. I don't the long-term plan would be to develop young kids and and see them flourish through their ages. But at the moment, the youngest that I did ever have that's still with me today was 19, and she's doing amazing, and just a competitive amateur boxer.
Yeah,
but
out of the combat center.
No, out of boxing
alley.
Yeah.
Because you cross both, right?
Yes, yep. And so that long term would be to develop from a young age. And there's a lot of gyms that are out there, and in particular, Pacific Boxing is doing an amazing job bringing these young kids up that don't really have the best backgrounds or upbringings, and just making them into terrific boxers. Yep. So that's my aspiration. Jeff and Tank, if they watch this, they'll know, and kudos to them. So so that's my aspiration and inspiration is to get to that part.
I've had a few boxers. I had Shane Cameron on, and Duke and Williams on as well. And it's funny, I've spoken to them about the same thing. My dad, I've got in the ring late in life. I've always loved wanting to fight. My dad was a kickboxing champion back in the 90s and stuff. And as a teen, I always wanted to get into boxing. And he always said this to me, and I only understood it as an adult. But he said to me when I was growing up, he goes, Lawrence, you can't get into boxing. You're too privileged. And he says, you're going to get in the ring, and the person you're going to be fighting against on the other side hasn't had a meal or doesn't know where his meal is going to come from. And if he doesn't perform or fight or win this, he hasn't got control of his life.
Yes.
And he always said to me is that boxers come, and like you said, from, we're seeing some people out of the community now becoming amazing sports stars because they've been brought up in different ways, and they've had to fight through their upbringing to survive. So when they get into a situation like boxing, they just fucking take over, right? You look at a lot of the Mexican lightweight boxers we had back in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of the guys, Canelo Alvarez, for example, right? It's nice. Look at the dude's balling now with so much money, but in the beginning, to fight to survive, right?
Yeah, and at such a young age, like I think he turned pro at 14 or 15. Who does that, eh?
He's a bit of a freak, right? So he's got his big match coming up in October, right? So, but he's a bit of a freak, old Canelo Alvarez. But that boxing is an interesting one, right? It's a very humbling sport as well.
Yeah, well, combat sports in general, you know, like I grew up watching K1.
Yeah,
and I was just so fascinated with, with just the art of the sport, like the brutality of it, but also how they carried themselves, in the ring, and then also out of the ring, and whether they're defeated or not. So it was awesome. And, like my original thing was K1. Like I want to see that come back, because that was me.
So your fighting career, so just boxing, K1, kickboxing, or where did you go across?
So it's just boxing.
Yeah. What did you ever go? Got a pro record or just amateur?
Nah, just amateur. I was corporate, and then went to amateur in Australia when I was posted there with the Navy, and had a couple of fights there, and then come back and had a couple of corporate fights. And then that's where it ended there. Yeah,
you still got enough. You still got enough lead in that pencil to do another couple of corporate, right?
AJ, man, just gets you injuries. But no, I don't. I miss the competitive aspect. I miss sparring. But I don't think that I could ever do that. Put myself in that position, because there's always an element where something could go wrong. And I don't think I can put my kids through that,
Oh, like I loved when I got into late, so late as in like my early 30s. And I did a corporate event. I trained in 6 months, and I was at Boxing Central in town, did that, all that stuff. But it's such a unique sport that you get humbled, right? So. Growing up in South Africa, having street fights there, doing everything else, thinking I can throw it, so go and train boxing, and you're like, yeah, cool, I can handle this on pad work. And then you get in the ring for sparring, and some nobody just fucking slots you, right? And you got no idea. And then you go, okay, I thought I know how to fight. And it's just such a weird sport.
Yeah. And addictive too, eh?
Dude, you can't. I say to everyone, you think you can fight till some guy punches you in the nose? But then the guys that are like, MMA or the boxing, just go back for it, right? So you get punched in the nose. I got hit. This is how crazy it was. We're practicing the one night, we're doing sparring, and I can't find my mouth guard.
Right.
So I either sit out the whole night or climb in the ring with the mouth guard.
Right.
So what do I fucking do? I climb in the ring, right? 20 minutes later, I've put my teeth right through my gums. straight to A&E to get stitched up, because I'd rather climb in the ring with no mouth guard than miss out the sparring, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird one. And then I just saw some uniqueness, and it always allows me to look at the sport and see what it truly means. Like you look at guys, like people look and go, okay, boxing looks easy. You just got to be able to throw and block and the move and all the rest of it. And until you've climbed the ring and actually learned the science of it, you've got no understanding, right? Of what it takes. That's why, like, a lot of people originally were like, when Sonny Bull got into the scene.
Yeah.
You know, Sonny Bull, the first couple of guys, because he was a big and muscular, Sonny Bull can't box for shit, right? And then he went on, and it was like, okay, hold on. You know, you can actually box.
Yeah. 100%. And I think, like, you know, athletes say they just have this natural ability to be able to adapt and overcome, and essentially that's what boxing is. Like, not every opponent's going to be the same, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, so you know, and they might show up on the night and have a better night than you, and how are you going to crawl that back and, you know, get the last 2-3 rounds back to call into your favor, or even get a knockout.
Yeah.
And it's all about thinking on the spot and adapting. So
I had a weird one with sparring practice. I was coming up to my fights, and my coach, a guy called Asher Derbyshire.
Oh, yes,
he's a champion out of Wellington, right?
Yeah.
He still fought Izzy in the Super 8s many years ago. So I was training with him, and then I'd come in, like, do the 6 a.m. class just with him sparring, and he would call out to the floor. So we'd do a 6 a.m. and then I'd come back at 5. So I'd train twice a day as I was training. And so at 6 a.m. he would call to anyone on the floor that was just doing the $20 class. Does anyone want to spar? You can come on in and spar rounds. And it's like, cool, because then you would get the most random person for like 2 minutes or 4 minutes, how many rounds you were doing, or, you know, and so forth. And then at 5 o'clock we'd do the same thing. And I remember, I think the one morning session I had this guy that had no idea really how to box. He would double punch. So I'd stand there and he would throw both punches at once. And for the first few times, I was just like, I looked at him like, what am I supposed to do? And he said to me, he goes, if that's your opponent, you got to figure it out, right? So that was fun. And then the one that really, really fucking pissed me off was we did a session the one night, and because when I was fighting, I was in the 90s. I was fighting heavyweight, but I was a very, very small heavyweight. So he would always get the big guys. So again, he asked one night at like 5 or 6 o'clock, and the guy came over 6'3", 6'4". So he had the reach. He's like, cool, you've got to figure to get in, or the rest of it. This guy just come from the pub, right? He was 3 or 4 beers deep from the pub, wanted to come to class, sweat it out. So he had no roughly idea what he was doing, but he was so much more looser, and he had the reach. I couldn't fucking get to him. And I sat there after going, I've been training for like 3 months. This dude just come from the pub. And I can't, like, I got a few ones in there, but I just like, that was the frustrating part about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you understand it, right?
Yeah, he would have been, you know.
A lot looser, just throwing it out there and all the rest.
Yeah.
So, look, you know, take it back to, you know, the programs you got at the moment with the youth. I don't know if you can speak more about the discipline and allegiance and everything else. You're saying, obviously, getting kids back into the community. You know, can you speak more about that?
Yeah. So, discipline allegiance was, I used to run a boot camp company. And when I parted ways with my then partner, I decided to take a different route, born discipline allegiance. And it was more so about separating myself from what I did back then, and also about bringing people up through my system in boxing. And I developed a system where I wanted to really enhance the top 2 inches before anything else, and utilize what I've experienced and gained, and from the Defence Force, from the Navy in particular, and encompass that all into one. So that kind of attitude and that kind of like mentality, coaching aspect and teamwork, I try and carry that over into my workplace in the Navy, and vice versa. So they intermingle, they kind of like complement each other at certain times. It's all about, like I said, adapting and overcoming and reading the room at that particular time. So, hopefully that's answered your question.
Yeah, I totally did. And, so what else is in the roadmap for yourself, Albie, that you're thinking about or going to at the moment? Because obviously, there's the Navy side, there's the coaching side, there's the program and everything else. And every time I see you on social media, it feels like there's something brewing, and you're still trying to do more and more. What's the vision there?
So, I've restarted this thing called 6.5 for 65s, and that's 6.5 kilometers for 65 days. And a couple of months ago, there was on the news a documentary about retirees in New Zealand and how they're finding it hard, because a pension doesn't match up to the living wage, etc. And I found that quite striking and, humbling. And also I was pretty sad for them. So how do I do something for them? And there was this charity called Age Concern. And I thought, 6.5 is 65 age of and then 65 days. So I set out to run 6.5 kilometers every day for 65 days. And that was the lead up to the 100 kilometers. And then I fell sick and I couldn't do that. And I was 27 days in or something like that. Then I tried to attempt it again. And the doctors wouldn't let me exercise and I failed at that. So now I'm day 4 of the reattempt.
Oh, awesome.
And so that's immersion. And so the Give a Little page will come up later on, but 100% of that proceeds will go to to help anyone that's in that situation, 65 years and over.
Yep.
Right. And then I run this burpee event every year. Since 2019.
That just makes me sick thinking about it, but keep going, keep going.
So essentially we have teams of 4 and we burpee for 2.4 kilometers.
Oh, fuck that. Because I'm sure I've seen that one as well, but fuck, because I got invited once and I think I was busy. Right. So, yeah. Because you did that out of the domain, didn't you?
No.
Someone was doing a
Trust Stadium.
Someone was doing a burpee event out of the domain as well one stage.
Right.
And someone invited me and I think I was busy. So, yeah.
Well, I would have been busy too if I wasn't there. But yeah, so that's coming up in December. I'm looking at taking it down to Rotorua or Tauranga and then bring it back up to Auckland.
What, burping all the way down?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just fucking you that crazy to do that, man?
Never. So yeah, and then hopefully that 100 kilometers, wherever that when that comes, at the end of the year or next year. But I said and I've promised that next year will be my last year of doing these events, and I'll look to try and support people through, or even help people organize their own events. And do the same or similar stuff. So next year, I've only told a couple of people this, but essentially what I want to do is run the length of New Zealand, and I want to run it with a 10 kg sand power bag, right? And how all my events are about people and not in particular myself.
Yep.
So let's just say, and hopefully this is not the case, but from this financial year to next financial year, let's just say there's 602 people that unfortunately lose their life to suicide. So then what I will do is split New Zealand up to 604 intervals or, slots, and invite people to run, or a person to run with me, for that leg. And or even families that suffered from that. So that can serve as a healing factor as well. But that 10 kg power bag will represent the weight of depression or mental illness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I'll get people to sign it so it's sentimental. And then I'll carry that from the top to the bottom, or from the bottom to the top, whatever.
That's amazing.
So that will be my very last event that I'll ever do.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense. Yeah, the number last year was 5:38. So 6:02 is not a bad guess, right? So I did a myself and Jack Henderson from Hender's Hot Topics.
Yeah.
We did a charity event at our football club. We did a 538-minute live podcast and a 538-minute continuous game of football for I'm Hope. So we raised funds there at the club. So that was quite fun.
Wicked.
And it was close to my heart. My aunts, so my cousins from my wife's side, was one of the 538. That was a great day, but close to home.
Yeah. Yes.
But I'd rather be behind the mic. You and me, guy. All right, we would rather sit behind the mic than you crazy boys. I joke on this every time I get someone that's in the fitness one. I speak to the wife and I go, I interview all you amazing guys and girls that are super fit, all this stuff, cold plungers, all this other stuff. You'd think I would be the most motivated person. Fuck that. I ain't doing a cold plunge. I ain't doing any of that other shit and I wish that shit would rub off.
Yeah.
You could enjoy it. I'll sit and clap on the side, right?
And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. I'll enjoy watching people cold plunge. That's not me at this point in time.
I still haven't got in it. Like everyone that I've spoken to it's so big at the moment because it's so popular, right?
Yes.
Like the other day, I was like, okay, let me just tempt this partially. I'm just going to jump into a cold shower. Fuck. Like 3 seconds. I'm like, I'm done. Like this, I'm wasting my time. I'm not even, no, dude. I'm like, no. Scorching like devil hot water. That's me, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, and I know there's the benefits and everything else, and if I can push through it, and it's just like no.
Yeah.
Maybe one day in my life I'll go through.
Me and you both at this stage. I'm not going to devil into that. Yeah.
So where are you still coaching out at the moment? You still boxing alley and combat
and the combat center.
Yeah. Because I see you all over the combat centers socials, right?
Yeah. I enjoy that space, you know, like I enjoy both spaces. So, it's awesome to be able to, they have more young, like
combat center.
Yeah. Combat centers.
So youth, right? My son's,
Yeah. All the way, you know, it's your son there.
So he did jiu-jitsu last year.
Oh,
so so I got him into jiu-jitsu for about 3 or 4 months. So I do pad work with him boxing. So he did one class boxing. Like he loves doing boxing and everything else. But I'm as a dad going, I want you to learn to protect yourself before being able to learn to fight.
Right.
So jiu-jitsu is more, you know. But as a kid, jiu-jitsu is a long game.
Yeah.
You've got to do jiu-jitsu for like a year continuously before you get one tick box, right?
Yeah.
Where for him, so he sees all these kids with different belts and different stripes. And so for him, after like 3 or 4 months, he's like, but I'm still a white belt with nothing.
Yeah.
It's a long, so for an 11-year-old, it's really hard for them to comprehend that you've got to give it time. And as a dad, I'm like, this is the best thing you can get into. I'll let you do boxing later. So he keeps nagging me of wanting to go back into the boxing. But the only thing at Combat Center is the time slots have just become a little bit outside of our... The time slots were good before, but no, I struggle to get my boy down there.
Right.
So
So, man, it's just the community that they've got there is amazing, you know, and I like to see, like since the combat center's open, I've only been working there for the past, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and but since it's open, I've like, you know, me and Vin have been close friends, you know, so these young kids that I see now. Hey, you know, like from when they started, it's just the transformation is amazing.
Because there's quite a few, not champions, but there's quite a few decent people both in the boxing and the jiu-jitsu side out of that gym, right?
Yeah. There will be. Macca, I don't know if you know Macca.
I know the name.
Yeah, so she's fighting tomorrow in Australia. And if all goes well, she'll smash this girl, and then hopefully there'll be a contract later on down the track for her.
So it's first pro, or has she done a few already?
She's done a few pro. Yeah. She's got her first pro fight next weekend, I think, or October 10th. Yeah.
Okay.
Or 7th, one of those two,
Yeah. It's always fun to go and watch, you know, to go watch the fights and stuff. So do you still go around the circuit and watch outside of any, you know, do you just go?
Yeah, I try to, you know, like, but I'm so like busy, you know, like, any time I can get, it's family orientated, you know. So if I, you know, it's a want, but it's not a necessity to be able to go to those things. So I try and catch up on like live feeds or even like, you know, reruns on YouTube or whatnot. So it's not a must for me. I'd rather just spend time with family. But yeah, I do keep a close eye on it because they could be, you know, future competition for my fighters later on down the track. Yeah, but I love supporting, you know, New Zealand fighters.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the question.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Izzy's last fight?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, if he was to fight him again, I think he would just wipe the floor with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but even he in his last interview, I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, he released it yesterday.
Yeah. You know, like
to me, it still looks like he's struggling though.
Yeah,
there's something there though. I'm a big Izzy fan. I've met him once in Vegas. We stumbled. Right. He was there for the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight. Right. Where both ended up in Vegas, and I've followed his whole career and everything else. The interview he did yesterday of him, there's still something. I'm still missing something.
Right.
So if you watch it as not as a true fan that supports him, thinks he's going to come back and take it back. Just take a step back. There's a spark or there's a little clink there that seems like the Izzy of like 12 months ago it's not the same person. Yeah. It's just I watched it and I like something is like it's almost like he's going to come out in a month's time and go, oh, by the way, no one knew, but like I had like kidney failure or something. There's just like something weird from the vibe. It doesn't seem like Izzy of old.
Well, it could be. Could be also the fact that he's just like he's been doing high level fights and championship fights for so long and taking on anyone and everyone, right? So it could be that fact. I don't know, but I just think like he'll get over it, and I think he'll just come back even better, you know? Yeah.
Which way would you see them if you could control? Let's do a glass ball one, right? If you could control, if you Dana, how would you run it? Would you do a rematch, or would you bring Drickus in first and then do Izzy afterwards?
No, rematch.
Rematch?
I think people would be more subject to the rematch rather than
Drickus.
Yeah. I think so. And then if Izzy or when Izzy wins the rematch, and then Drickus will come in like
the true African champ, right?
Yeah, it will just make for a better story, you know.
Yeah. I've joking to a few people going they should have the Izzy Drickus fight in Nigeria, right?
Right. Yeah.
But they would never do it. I don't think they can get the security for it. But imagine the sales, right?
I was just talking about this the other day, and you know, like how Ali and George Foreman and they would just go to countries and fight in other people's countries and just like go global. Yeah. Well, you don't see that anymore, right? You know?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think there's something there and everything else.
I'll tell you a true story about Izzy, by the way.
Yeah. No.
The first UFC that came to NZ, I think there was only one anyway.
Yes, correct.
And James Sahuna was the was headlining that. So we were up in the nosebleeds, right? Me and my one best mate, and then we sat next door, next to one of my mates at school, coincidentally. And next door to him was Izzy, and those two are good mates, right? They did combat together, etc., etc. And like Izzy was going hard, like commentating. He should be doing this, doing this, doing that, doing that. And then I was like, who's this dude? Like, you know, you're thinking, you've never seen him, never heard from him. You're like, what is he doing? Like, you know? And then he goes to me, there'll be me one day.
Yeah.
I will be that person. And then fast forward, man, like, it's crazy.
True. When I spoke to Coach Suns, that was on the show, right? That was one of his first sports and conditioning coach. When he had it, he said how they, when they were sitting, was it the Sydney fight originally? The one that he was, the one before he actually got the UFC contract, and he was sitting there watching, and he was like, "Cool, I'll be here the next time it comes here. I'm gonna be fighting." And the next time this card came to Sydney or whatever it was, he was on the card, right? It's just crazy.
This manifestation, like crazy. Yeah.
So another one, this Tyson Fury fight. You thinking much of it?
I like it.
Yeah?
And the reason why I like it is because he's doing something different, you know? And
He's doing it for money, though.
Yeah,
It's his biggest purse. It's 50 mil in the purse, right? For
at the end of the day, why would you not? Like, if it's going to set you up and your family up, and then plus it's like, it's what I think what actually people would like to see or want to see. They're going to tune in regardless because they either like Tyson Fury or they don't.
You think Francis has got a chance?
Yeah, I think every heavyweight has a chance. And Francis is like how you said at the beginning, you know, like when your dad told you that, you know, like it's the same concept as like he, you know.
I think the chance that Francis has is I don't think Tyson's going to come in it too seriously. Because he's already banking the biggest payday of his career.
Yeah.
He can't lose anything from a belt point of view, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he's going to come into it. I don't know if you saw the catch up or not weigh-in, but like a week ago, Tyson, dude, like full gut. He's like, feel my fat and all the rest of it.
He looks bigger than what he was for that.
Yeah,
you know?
so I don't know if there's any seriousness there other than, and obviously from Francis' side, he's like, dude, I'm going to train because if I take that, he can then demand a top 5 fight with someone else for another big payday, right?
Yeah. I just reckon it's cool, you know, like I like those type of things. And it's the same as that Jake Paul, you know, like originally I thought,
YouTubers.
Man, what the hell is this guy up to? And I think he's just, what I like about him is his dedication to the sport.
Correct,
you know, and how he's actually.
And his brother.
Yeah, and his brother.
Yeah.
And he's setting a standard that like, no matter where you are, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Hey, so that's what I like about
So true. Him and his brother's work ethic is off the charts.
Correct,
Everyone has said it. Whether you like him or not and think he's arrogant and an arsehole so good, but they both got crazy work ethic that they put in there, right? Because obviously they Jake Paul is coming from, you know, the YouTuber boxers and there's another fight night, KSI's fighting Fury.
Fury's brother.
Yeah. Tommy Fury,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, okay, guys, but the craziness, they're doing it because they're owned by, DAZN, right? And they sell millions.
Yeah. I think Tommy Fury's ruining his career.
Dude, you know what? But I think Tommy Fury, up until about 2 years ago, had a path which just never came through.
Yeah.
And then I think he's realizing that he's going to be a top 30 fighter all his career, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to fight these YouTubers for $5 million a pot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. But the dude can be a model, you know?
Who's that? Who? Tommy Fury.
Yeah.
Pretty boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, Albie, you know, as we sort of coming up to the end of today's show, is there anything you want to leave our audience or, you know, anyone watching or thinking about this? Some thoughts from yourself out to the community or so forth?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, and I always say it, like it took me a while to actually feel that this is okay to do. It does take practice, and I do understand because I've already been through that, and like the stigma around it and how hard it is to make yourself vulnerable. But when you reach out for help, it is vital that you do it, and when you do it, it essentially makes it a lot easier. And you share your story, and people do generally want to help, and they hold no stigma against it, or they don't hold any judgment. The other thing is like, and I put the video out there the other day, like nothing changes if nothing changes. And that quote was when I used to play league, and our coach at the time came up with that quote, and it stuck through all these years, like 2013, I think, or 11, he said it. And I generally feel that if nothing changes, then nothing changes, essentially. So don't be afraid of change. I hated change, essentially. Don't be afraid to create change. And that's been what I've been trying to do lately, or, you know, for a while now. Those two things are, I think is essential.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Albie. And if anyone's interested, where can they reach out to you?
Instagram. Yeah. Like I just, that's my sole platform. I just use Instagram all the time, and that's about it.
Awesome. And Albie, thank you so much for coming on the show. And to everyone else, as always, thanks for coming over to the podcast. And as I say at the end of each show, I don't care about the shares and likes and the follows. I care about you taking something away from today's episode that could resonate with yourself or someone else. You know, Albie's talking about, mental health, our youth, the community, making a difference. If there's something important for yourself, a friend, or anyone else, just nudge them and just say, hey, come on over, have a look and see and have a listen, because maybe they need it today. Maybe we need to reach out to someone today and ask them if they're okay. But as always, thanks for coming over to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast, and hope to see you again.